Hello, Joe here. I'm a musician, I'm a composer, and I like talking about music right here on this channel for your eyeballs to consume. What is the oldest music in the world? This is a multi-layered question which really probes into how we study and interpret ancient cultures, and ultimately how we think about art itself. Music is one of humanity's most important modes of expression. It brings us together, it makes us feel emotions and think thoughts which we may have never experienced otherwise. And unraveling the relationships ancient societies had with music can reveal the hidden truths about culture which may be useful for us even today. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, please click the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment. I'll say hi. Let's go. So, music is not like visual art. With visual art, say a painting, the work exists physically in the real world. There is a singular object that is, by nature, the work of art. There is only one Mona Lisa. You can copy her image, and some art philosophers may argue that an image of Mona Lisa is just as much a work of art as the original painting. But in the end, there is a physical object in the Louvre that represents the truest form of what we think of when we say Mona Lisa. Music does not exist like this. Much like other performance arts, it doesn't have a concrete form in the world. You can write a score, which is essentially a set of instructions for how to play the music, but the actual music itself, the experience of listening to the sound, is inherently, by nature, transient. This makes recording the musical traditions of the past very difficult, and is why we very often refer to visual artworks like cave paintings when talking about ancient cultures. Music has existed for as long as anything else, it's just that without recordings, and especially for cultures without a written record, the original experiences of music are completely lost to time. Nonetheless, there are ways to circumvent these problems and investigate the music of the past. The first way is to look at the musical instruments that ancient cultures used. One of the most common ancient instruments is the bone flute. These, as in the name, are bones, usually animal but sometimes human, that have been hollowed out and holes have been poked in various places to allow air through and create pitch. Bone flutes have been found pretty much everywhere prehistoric societies have existed, but it's because of their simplicity that they are so prevalent. The oldest recorded instrument is a 35,000-year-old bone flute made of vulture bone and found in a cave in southwest Germany. To give you a sense of scale, agriculture was only invented at most 10,000 years ago, and this janky bone flute has existed for over 3 times that length. We don't know what the actual music that came out of these instruments sounded like. We have no idea what rules or traditions governed their sound, but studying the instruments themselves can give us a tiny bit of insight into prehistoric music. Another way to investigate the music of the ancient past is to look at the written records themselves. Obviously, not every culture had written music, or even writing at all, but some ancient cultures, like that of China, Mesopotamia, South America, they all had writing, and some form, however rudimentary, of written music. Systems of written music were used in ancient Greece from at least the 6th century BCE. The main system in use was the systema teleion. The written systems of ancient Greek music are immensely complicated, and they are well beyond the scope of this video. But in essence, the music was based off of scales, much like modern Western music, but written with different symbols and tuned in very different ways. Seriously, I can't pretend I understand systema teleion, it is just beyond me, but I put some links in the description, so if you're more interested you can do some research there. An upside to having records of this complicated stuff is that music can even be recreated by modern performers. Here's a recording. that amazing? This music is thousands of years old, created by composers and performers with a completely alien worldview to us, and yet here we are, having it pumped directly into our ears on YouTube. I think that's fab. So, this all brings us to the question, what is the oldest music in the world? Well, sorry to disappoint, but we don't know for sure. And it depends on your definition of music itself. The earliest recorded music, that is literally recorded with a microphone, was a snippet of the French folk song Au clair de la lune, recorded by Edouard Léon Scott du Martinville. Scott du I don't know how to say Scott in a French accent. Leave a comment if I pronounce that wrong. Although, to be honest, it sounds more like me singing in the shower. But we can go way further back than that. The oldest written music was found on a cuneiform tablet in Babylonia, or modern-day Iraq, dating back to 1400 BCE. Interpretations of the notation are controversial, and the tuning would have been different, but the generally agreed modern-day translation creates music that is weirdly similar to Western classical. We think that it was written for the strings of a lyre, essentially a mini harp, which was a popular instrument in the region around this time. These are essentially the earliest recorded melodies created by humanity. Listening to this is quite humbling. It's like reaching back thousands of years. It reminds us that ancient people were humans just like us. They danced, they mourned, and enjoyed music just like we do. However, we can go even further back if you allow me to stretch the definition of music slightly. There is evidence of stories and songs from various indigenous cultures dating back as far as tens of thousands of years. The Aboriginal Gundit Jamara, I really don't know how to pronounce this. The Aboriginal Gundit Jamara of southeast Australia tells a story of 4 giant beings arriving in the land. 3 of them strode out to other parts of the continent, but one crouched down and transformed into a volcano called Budj Bim. This giant being's teeth became the lava that shot out of the volcano. Now, the last time this volcano actually erupted was 37,000 years ago. Bear in mind that the ancient Gundit Mara people couldn't have known what a volcano was without actively experiencing an eruption. So this is evidence, not confirmed, but potentially evidence for the story being an actual record of the event. We don't know for sure, but potentially this might be the earliest evidence of oral tradition, and therefore music, in the entire world. Stories and songs have an intertwined history, and for some cultures they are one and the same. So maybe the story of Budj Bim volcanic eruption really is the oldest music in the world. Or perhaps it's the cuneiform tablet. Or maybe it's even the Scott du Martinville, maybe it's even Scott's recording. Whatever it is, however old the oldest music is in the world, I can assure you that I will be many times older when Rihanna eventually decides to release her next album. Riri, please. Riri. Thank you for watching. Please like the video, please subscribe, please press smush the bell button, and also hit me up on Patreon if you're interested. $10 a month will get your name at the end of this video. Until then, I've got loads of videos in the works, so stay tuned. Until next time.